Welcome, my friends, to the Empowered Podcast. My name is Heidi Plende. I am so glad to be here with you today, your host. I have a very special guest. Her name is Kat Bostwick from Southern Oregon, who I met in a women's circle. I went to her women's retreat that just totally changed my life. I am excited to hear her story of empowerment, her story of transformation, because, when we go through stuff, we learn valuable tools and treasures and we get such good stuff out of it. And Kat has an amazing story to share with us today. So, Kat, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our guest and just jump in wherever you feel like you want to start?
Cool. Well, first, I just want to say thank you so much, Heidi. I'm super grateful to be here today. Like Heidi said, I met her through a women's circle that I run in Ashland. We meet once a week, and Heidi was a part of that from the beginning. So we formed friendship pretty quickly, and I'm really grateful to have her in my life. And it's been cool. I've like watched you just in this short amount of time, like really transform, and that's been a joy. But yeah, so my name is Kat. I'm originally from Little Rock, Arkansas, and I moved to Southern Oregon about 5.5 years ago. People ask me what brought me here, and really my answer is divine intervention. I feel like I was led here. I didn't even know what I was doing. And isn't that just how God's plan works? Like I believe that there is definitely a plan for my life. And since living here, I have discovered that. So I was in corporate America for 8 years. Um, Learned a lot of really good skills, but was rather very depressed doing that work. I wasn't very excited about the companies I was working for and didn't believe in what they were putting out in the world. And I have a hard time doing anything that I'm not completely passionate about. And so my heart was saying for some time that I needed to exit that. And man, maybe we'll go into this later, but the power of manifestation really through journaling. I remember when I first moved here 5 years ago, I would journal a lot about how I wanted to start a nonprofit, how I wanted my life to be in devotion to others, how I really felt happiest in that space. And fast forward 5 years, now that dream is actually coming true and easily and more gracefully and more beautifully than I could have ever imagined myself. And so that is like really the power of prayer. I think journaling's prayer. I think everything that we say, everything we think is a prayer. It's ultimately sending these missiles of desire into the future that will manifest in one way, shape, or form. And I'm like seeing that more and more in my life. So fast forward now, I am really deeply involved in community work. And what that looks like is creating regular gatherings for men and women to come together to simply connect, to have our stories be heard and listened to, and to receive support. Um, I really want to bring back this tribe mentality of doing life together, every aspect of it, business, healing, raising our families, instead of having to do everything by ourselves, instead of evoking the power of a collaboration. When people come together, I really have seen a lot of change within my community, and I'm just getting started, so I'm stoked to be here to be able to talk about these things. Thank you so much for having me, Heidi.
Yes, thank you. So you brought up a really important point, which is the power of being heard. So the circle that I was going to with Kat, people shared, and the magic happened in the sharing and in the being heard and the being received. So, do you want to talk a little bit more about that, about how you came to create that kind of a circle where people are seen and heard and really supported in their journey?
Totally. Yeah. So I started doing these women's circles 3.5 years ago, and I'm just going to be honest, I had no idea what I was doing. Since I was a little girl, I've always had this unique ability to be able to connect with all people and make them feel welcomed. And so this circle was originally just my attempt to try to get the women in my community to gather and to spend time together. And let me tell you, like this circle schooled me. You know what I mean? Like I learned by making mistakes and failing forward. I didn't even learn the power of really truly listening until, one time. So I would lead these circles and it kind of be my job as a facilitator to keep things moving. And I got schooled multiple times by women being like, hey, like even when you respond, kind of affirming, being like, oh yeah, cool. You know what I mean? Like when you're in conversation, they're like, that's interrupting me. And I was like, oh, like, I learned these things as I went along. They're like, oh no, like complete listening is not saying anything and really listening to that person and letting them speak entirely. We have a talking stick that we use. Whoever has that stick has a complete floor and is to be listened to, you know? And what I learned actually from doing these circles was it wasn't necessarily about what I had to say or my teaching or my medicine that I wanted to share. Rather, the impact was coming from me simply going there and listening to them. And I've learned so much, like, oh my gosh, how I've developed as a woman just through listening to other people and their stories, like the immense amount of information that I've learned. I've always considered myself like, I mean, I'm an academic, I'm smart, I certainly have intellect, but I mainly learn through people, through my conversations with them. And oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, how I've developed just through listening to these people. And then also on the other side of it, how therapeutic and healing it's been when these women have a safe space to be able to share their story and what's happened to them.
Yeah.
And it's really like that right there has facilitated so much healing within this community. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly blown away, by
Wow.
the simplicity of that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's been good medicine for me.
It's been good medicine. The other good medicine that I see you share at the circle is you call it the light of awareness. Or maybe I've called it the light of awareness and you called it something, but it's basically when we see things in a new way. There's a light, there's an awareness that comes on the scene that we couldn't see without our sister's story. I can see myself in her story. So there's some light, like, oh, I can see what's happening now within myself.
Hmm,
Do you want to talk about the light of awareness at all? Or is that something that's not in your memory at the moment?
totally.
Okay.
Totally. I mean, that's actually all that's required. It makes me think of this. So I was raised really religious, and I don't believe in the religion anymore, but I do very much believe in the teacher, which was Yeshua.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this verse that I think of when they talk about love, and he describes love in this verse. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. Love
Mm-hmm.
does not dishonor others. It is not easily angered. It does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always hopes, always protects, always trusts, always perseveres. Love never fails.
Mm-hmm.
And then it talks about how, that's the light right there. That sort of love is true love, and that is the light. And when we shine that on other people, you know what I mean? Oftentimes that love is like all it really takes for them to be able to look at themselves and be like, oh wow, I like see the pattern. I see what I need to fix. And when we do that with others, like holding space for others and like in whatever they're going through and just having grace and patience for them, but also with ourselves, of
Mm-hmm.
like oftentimes when that light is when we shine that own love on ourselves, that loving light of awareness, that's all it takes is this awareness to be able to be like, okay, this pattern needs to change. And later on in that verse, it talks about how when completeness, like, for we know in part, we prophesy in part, but when completeness comes, all that's in part falls away.
Yeah.
And that completeness is the loving light of awareness. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like when we become aware of something, it says also, when I talked like a child, I reasoned like a child, I thought like a child, but when I became a woman, I put those childish ways behind me. And what that means is when we become aware, we can't ever go back. You can't ever unsee that. That's there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And instead we're like, okay, this is all it takes. It's just becoming aware of something, and then your behavior starts to shift naturally, and it's easy. Like we complicate
Mm-hmm.
things as human beings,
Yes.
but it's like that's really
Yes.
all it takes is just being like, okay, wow, I see this. I
Yeah.
understand. I don't have to change it today, and oftentimes old patterns, they take time, but there's like courage and like hope in that like
Yeah.
all I have to do is be willing to look at myself and
Mm-hmm.
change. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is totally my experience as well, and what I've picked up from your circles, really the change that's been happening within me. It comes from the light of awareness. And when I was at your retreat, you had had a sound bath and a meditation. It was on the in the grass in the forest. It was lovely. Anyway, I had this download from spirit of basically this same thing that you're talking about is when you see the truth, you don't need the untruth anymore. We've been lying to ourselves about what I need, what I want, how I'm meeting my needs through these other things, through relationships, through substance, through sex or whatever. And when you see the truth, you don't need those things. But that being said, our journey in working that out looks different for everybody, and it doesn't just like, oh, I see it now, I let it go. It's like there's an untangling, isn't there? There's
Mhm.
time. It's not like, oh, I get it, so I don't have to do this anymore. It's like, why am I still doing this thing when I've seen the truth, but yet it feels more, I don't know, there's a process in the
Totally.
untangling and the letting go.
And you just have to be like the reality is in order to get our internal deeper self that does know the answer. Some might call it the Holy Spirit, but
Yeah.
that part of us that has that understanding of our path, what is right for us. The
Mm-hmm.
only way to get this internal self to open up and
Mm-hmm.
show you the answer on how to move forward and heal these patterns
Yeah.
is through a lot of love and compassion for yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Because I think lately it's been so interesting, Heidi. I have been connecting with my younger self, my childlike self, my toddler particularly.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've realized is like the only way she opens up to me is when I'm like, hey, girl, really gentle and compassionate and loving. She
Mm-hmm.
doesn't open up to me when I'm like, screw you. Why did you do this? I hate you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? No, 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 no. You have to be so gentle and compassionate with
Yeah.
yourself. And
Yeah.
then you start to open up, you know?
Yes.
So,
Yeah. And so with that opening up, you're coming from a heart space, right?
yes.
Um, so there's this affirmation that I've been saying for quite a while now, but it's always been up here. I've been saying it from up here, not knowing that, but it's I am that I am, and that is enough, right? So I
Mm,
know this is a truth. I am that I am, and that is enough. Okay, but I've been going through this my own transformation and just kind of struggling with letting go and like what's going on here and feeling resistance to
mm,
to letting go, right? And so
yep.
I'm saying this meditation, I am that I am, and that is enough. And you know what happened? It shifted. It went from here down to here. And then
Mm,
I felt the enoughness. And then it's not just an idea, because when we first have these, we have these realizations, or we can see through the light of awareness, like, oh, I can see that I'm running from myself. I can see that I'm numbing myself. I can see that I'm already complete, yet I'm still in this old loop. And but when I'm feeling the feeling of my completeness and my enoughness, ah, that's coming from a completely different place than I know I'm enough. I believe I am. It says it in the word, but yet I don't feel it yet, right? It
yeah.
has to come from here. That's
And I
when the
think that's
transformation really happens, but it's a process.
totally. And I think that's a particular challenge. That's really what the challenge is in this day and age is for all people to get out of the head and move into the
Oh,
heart and to really tune in like what is this saying? Particularly, men too, like absolutely.
sure.
But I
Yeah.
think that's actually more easily cultivated for women. We have been gifted our womb, which is really our connection to our heart. That heart womb connection is really strong. And we are particularly intuitive. Like women have always been gifted with those intuitive
Mm-hmm.
powers. And it's been hard for us, I think, because I see myself too. I am very much in my mind, but it's because I live in this patriarchal, very male dominated world. No hate, I'm not a feminist. That's just reality. You know what I mean? We have to function within this very masculine world, which is the intellect, the mind, the doing.
Mm-hmm.
And really, but what our world needs so desperately is for all people, especially the women, to drop into our heart and to really own this intelligence. Because this, like women stepping up into their power, which is guidance through the heart,
Hmm.
is what is needed more than ever. That's why I'm like so passionate about this women's work, because
Yeah.
I believe like right now, because of what's happening with Mother Earth, with the
Mm,
environment, within the
yeah.
mental health crisis, with all these wars going on, it's a lack of, really living from within the heart. We need female leadership, which is heart led more than ever. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
it's a constant practice and something that us women are really having to dial in, on behalf
Yeah.
of all humanity. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if I can't live from here, where nobody else is going to be able to live there, I'm
Right.
responsible for my behavior.
Totally.
Yeah.
I read this, I was listening to this video yesterday. It was really interesting that was talking about how we actually, our emotions are attuned to the magnetic frequency of the whole planet. So when the way that we feel as an individual, it affects the whole planet.
Yes, it
And
does.
women especially are in our emotions. So, at the retreat this year, Jessica McClure, she read this awesome quote that said, from this book she was reading, that said, if women can heal their hearts, there will
Mm,
be peace for 1,000 years. And I
mm.
really believe that if what we're doing in Circle week after week is
Mm.
not a small thing,
No,
we are
it's not.
healing on behalf of our whole community. And
Yeah.
I'm feeling it heavy. I'm like, oh, I'm onto something, you know what I mean? So yeah, heart knowledge has been really suppressed, but it's something that I feel is reemerging deeply, you know?
Yes. Nice. Well, thank you for sharing those, tidbits and treasures. Is there anything that you want to share about your own transformation, about something that was impactful for you that made a difference for your life? I mean, I know
Yeah.
Yeshua, the Holy Spirit,
Yeah,
you're
totally.
you have all of that, but is there anything that you want to share just in leaving this community here with a nugget? What is your nugget you
Totally.
want to share? And do you have an offer also?
Totally.
Okay.
So I will say, like, I want to give a big thank you to my mom and my dad.
Mm,
Because wow, as you get older, as you become an adult and you start to navigate this world, you start to realize, like, or at least for me, in my personal situation, my appreciation for my parents and the ways they raised me, particularly the way they love me, I'm
mm,
really grateful. So I just want to say, like, that alone, my parents' love and encouragement of my being from a really young age has really like made me who I am. It makes, I really enjoy encouraging people. I love telling people I love them often. I love telling people what I love about them because I know like how that shifted me in my life. This simple word, like I was on my friend's radio show podcast the other day and we were talking about that. I was like, I tell people, I say that word a lot, love, because I believe that it's more powerful than me. It casts a
mm.
spell. It goes before
Nice.
me and creates transformation bigger than anything I could have ever created on my own. And now that I've moved away from religious Christianity and stepped more into a true following of Jesus that is outside of the institution, instead of just following Jesus and what his message was. His message, what he exemplified within his whole life, was
Mhm.
love.
Mm.
Like that is what God is love. And it's the highest power, the highest frequency. Only love can conquer hate. Only love can conquer hate. And I really like that is my tidbit that sharing love with people, whether it's, if you think about them and you think of something that you're appreciative of, tell them, you know, forgive people often, remain in love, that's the only way to conquer the hate within our heart, the hate within this world is to be within that frequency. And I think the way that we tap into that is through gratitude, you
Yes.
know. I've been going through some hard times lately and I've started gratitude journaling in the morning. I document these 3 prompts every morning, and then I also do gratitude journaling when I go to bed. And this simple exercise, I'll actually read it to you right now. I have it right here. It says, I start the morning with, what and who are you grateful for? What would make today great? And my hopes and dreams. I document those three. They change every day just a little bit, And in the evenings, I document the good things that have happened and then the lessons learned.
Hmm.
And this simple exercise has tuned my vibrational frequency just ever so much to where I start seeing more things that I'm grateful for. And that gratitude automatically puts me in this space of love, you
Yeah.
know? So, woo, that's my recommendation. Give thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, give thanks, like so much like love transforms. And I can't remember what your second thing
Okay,
was.
that was a great nugget. Thank you so much for that. Then the
You're
second thing
welcome.
was, do you have an offer? What do you want to share? Like, what do you want to invite people to? Or what is your
Totally.
thing?
Awesome. Well, I would love to, I get a lot of, I believe I've been put here on this earth to be a supporter of people. I love being in that role, being a support player. And so, even if you're listening to this, wherever you are in the country or the world, I'm creating a network called the Conscious Collaborators Network. And my vision for this is to turn this into a global healing cooperative. This is a digital space. There are multiple networks that I've been building. There's the Rogue Women's Community, which is a women's resource group. There's the Rogue Men's Community, which is a men's resource group. Then there's the Conscious Collaborators Network, which is really my attempt to bring the men and the women together to sincerely collaborate. Both of these spaces are online, so no matter where you are in the world, I encourage you to tune in. They're very positive, meaning positive things going on. We are, if there's one thing that I've learned the most within 9 years of corporate business experience is that networking is essential. I've gotten to where I've gotten to today, yes, through my own work, but ultimately through the people that I know. And so I encourage people to plug into these. Not just I love the things that I create because they don't just benefit me, they benefit everyone. You know what I mean? If they want to use it, this resource is a free tool for you to use at your own leisure. And there's some powerful individuals within this group. Because that's the thing. It's like I used to trip out when I was a kid about not knowing all the answers or having all the skills. But I learned as I got older that I don't have to have it all figured out. I am bringing a piece of the puzzle. Heidi, you are bringing something that I cannot bring. And together we can combine forces and have an even bigger impact. And that's really what's going on right now. I feel like collectively, like even beyond me, I mean, I'm just a part of it. This new age of collaboration is being ushered in to where now we are relearning how to work together as a true community again. So I encourage people to plug into these online spaces. I'm only getting started. I'm so excited. And if you're local here in the Rogue Valley, plug into the in-person gatherings. All these have in-person extensions. So there's the weekly women's circle every Monday at 6 p.m. And there's also another circle in Grants, that's in Ashland. And there's another circle in Grants Pass. It meets every Thursday. So on both Valley, good options for women to plug in to receive support. There's a Rogue Men's Community. I do an event once a month, kind of just getting my feet wet with this, but still attempting to create the same healing and supportive spaces for the women that for the men that I've done for the women. And then come to the in-person gathering. We actually have our co-ed in-person gathering tomorrow. It's called the Conscious Collaborators Network. It's a 1 hour business networking social and then a 45-minute live interview with a different featured healer from the area. And I have already experienced so many amazing business connections through this event, this
Nice.
offering. And I just want to say for everyone out there, everything is community healing focused, donation based. So don't let money be a reason why you do not come. Come and receive the support if that's what you need. Um, Heidi, thank you so much for having me here today. Thank you for giving me the platform to be able to share my medicine. It's a joy and an honor. Thank you so much for having me, genuinely.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Kat. It's been a pleasure. So we'll just wrap it up and we'll see you next time. Okay, thank
Sounds
you so
great.
much.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, so.